What is up, guys? So Sports back again with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia 76ers and their sort of weird season. So I think it was a general consensus by many that the Philadelphia 76ers were the team that was going to come out the East for the NBA playoffs. And it looked that way. You know, looking at the offseason, they made big moves. They signed Al Horford, re-signed Tobias Harris, traded for Josh Richardson, and their team was constructed to solely beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Started off the season hot, 5-0, and then Joel Embiid and Karl-Anthony Towns got into a little scuffle, fight, whatever you want to call it. And since then, it's just been kind of downhill for this team. Now, this team is still pretty good. I believe they're, 24-14 at this point, or like 25-14. I think they're 24-15, actually. They just lost to the Mavericks like 2 nights ago. Still around the 5th seed, 6th seed-ish in the East. And that's still good and all. You know, the East is super competitive. They're really close, you know, to being able to push for that 2nd seed. But this is just not championship material. This team is not a championship team in my eyes. And let's just get into the reasons why that is so. So, first reason why, the team is just poorly constructed. You know, going into the offseason, now, there were a lot of options they could have had. You know, you could have just let everybody walk and then have the enormous amount of cap you had to go out there and sign a big player, potentially like a Kawhi Leonard, potentially like a who else was out there? Maybe a Kyrie Irving, KD. I don't know. Maybe those are like, you know, out of this world options, but they just made the wrong moves this past free agency. The first huge move they made was re-signing Tobias Harris. Off the jump, this was horrible because for the Sixers, it was either Tobias Harris or Jimmy Butler. And we can compare the players. Jimmy Butler is an all-star, multi-time all-star. He was an all-NBA player. He helped them so much throughout the season. He was their go-to guy. He was their closer. He was everything for that team. And you got Tobias Harris, who has not done anything in the league, really. Has bounced around from team to team. Finally, I guess, found himself in Los Angeles. Was traded to Philly, and he was cool. He wasn't out of this world. He wasn't doing anything crazy. He was playing his role, and he was playing it well. Or not even well, he was playing it okay. Playoffs came, and his production decreased. He got a lot worse. He did not live up to his standards. And then after you're seeing what Jimmy Butler did for you last season, and what Tobias Harris did for you last season, how does Elton Brand think it would be a better idea to bring back Tobias Harris than it would Jimmy Butler? Now, I understand you could talk about age or whatever, I guess, but like, I think Tobias is like 2 years younger than Jimmy Butler or something like that. So age is out the window. I just don't get it. The fit was always going to be poor because you could have Tobias playing the 4, but he's like his role with that team, I don't think it was ever going to get better. And it has not, you know, I mean, he's not worth the contract. We'll just leave it at that. He's not worth the contract that he has. He will never be worth it unless he turns into some 25 point per game guy, which he's just not going to turn into. And then you see Jimmy Butler has the Miami Heat. They're the 2nd seed right now. He's playing well. He's going to be an all-star this year, and he is an MVP candidate. So you let that go for Tobias Harris. That was your first huge mistake. The second big mistake in my eyes was signing Al Horford. Now, I understand where, you know, you might be coming from. The Bucks, they're your only competition in the Eastern Conference, yada, yada, yada. But Al Horford is like 33 at this point. You give him a 4-year deal, and the fit at the 4th spot is just weird. When you could have used that 25 mil to go out there and try to add some bench pieces, like a Derrick Rose, like a bringing back a JJ Redick, who you also let walk for no apparent reason. Go out there and try to get an Isaiah Thomas, somebody, because this bench is horrible. You know, you don't have much scoring off the bench. Mike Scott has been terrible this year. Matisse Thybulle does not give you an offensive punch. He is good on defense, but he's still a rookie, still very young. Zaire Smith has not been good. Trey Burke, Raul Neto, all these guys, their bench is not good. Shake Melton, James Ennis, these guys, they're not good. They're not good bench pieces. So I just don't know what their plan was. And, you know, you're going to reap the repercussions, the consequences, I guess, because now you see a lot of people have their doubts, and they should, because this team just does not fit together. Brett Brown, you know, he's not really a creative coach, so he's not going to really find ways to get other people open and stuff like that, and it's just not going well. So now that boils the question, what should the Sixers do? Now, there are a couple of options they could explore, and we'll touch base on each of them. So the first option they could do is the option that they'll probably, continue to do for the remainder of the season at least, and that is just ride it out with these guys. Ride it out with Ben Simmons and Josh Richardson and Tobias Harris and Al Horford and Joel Embiid, because this team could start to click. They could start to click once again and look like the team that they was in the beginning of the year, blowing teams out, just coasting through the Eastern Conference. And then when you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, hopefully against the Bucks, you can beat them in 6 because you got a lot of length on this team with Al Horford, with Joel Embiid, with Ben Simmons, so you can slow down Giannis and slow down the rest of the team. That could happen. They could always just click just like that instantly. Just snap back into reality. They could just become this amazing team. You could see what they did on Christmas. They could just become that team again, though that may be unlikely. I don't think they'll ever shoot that good again, but you get what I mean. That could happen. And I think that is probably what's going to happen. They could explore some trades. We'll get to some trades they could explore a little bit later, but that's the first option. The second option is to trade Al Horford. I've been hearing talks about I've not been hearing talks because I'm not in the NBA's realm. The NBA doesn't know me, but there have been some rumors that maybe they're exploring a trade with Al Horford for CJ McCollum. If the Trailblazers call Elton Brand and say, look, man, we want Al Horford, we'll give you CJ McCollum, you accept that right then and there and you hang up the phone, CJ McCollum will make this team 15 times better. He's essentially what Jimmy Butler did for you. He'll be your go-to scorer. He'll be your closer. You're adding another 20-point per game guy, another playmaker, because this team, that's really what they need, a secondary playmaker. They just need a playmaker in general because Ben Simmons is not like a dribbler, He'd be an amazing addition to this team. So if they do that, yes, I'm going to take that. So that's the second option, trading Al Horford. I think you won't be able to trade Tobias Harris. Nobody's taking on that contract. At least with Al Horford, is 4 years. I mean, it's still the same length, but Al Horford's contract is like 10 mil less. So it's doable. And then the last option for them is the biggest. Split up the duo. That's a question I'm going to ask you guys. Is it time to split up the duo of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid? Me personally, I think so. I don't think this team the duo at that will ever work out unless because they just made all the wrong moves. I don't know how you messed this up. You could have just added some great shooters around them and you'd have been fine, but you went out and signed guys that just don't fit. It's just not it's not going to work out, but either way, you could go out there and you could try to split up the duo. So look at some potential trades. If you call Portland and you're like, look, Portland, I got Ben Simmons, I got Al Horford, I got future first or Matisse Thybulle, give us Damian Lillard. Do the Trailblazers do that? Probably not, because Damian Lillard is a staple in their franchise. He's one of the greatest players to ever play for the Portland Trailblazers, and he wants to be a Trailblazer for life. So I don't know if they ever will do that. But in the case that may happen, Sixers, you gotta jump on that. Other trades, I've been hearing some things about D'Lo for Ben Simmons. Wouldn't even work out anyway because Ben Simmons' extension didn't kick in yet. And either way, I mean, D'Angelo Russell, he's cool, great offensively, but I don't know if I'm doing that if I'm the Sixers. Looking at other potential trades, that's really it. Those two teams are the only ones really that I'd be looking at if I'm the Sixers. If I'm looking to trade Ben Simmons, that's if I'm looking to trade Ben Simmons. Now Joel Embiid. He will probably be a little bit tougher because the teams that I'm thinking of are rivals, like the whatchamacallit, the Toronto Raptors. If they give you Pascal, they won't do that though. The Boston Celtics, maybe with Jason Tatum and Gordon Hayward, that could be a nice trade. I just don't think they do that either. It's really tough, and it's really tough in general to try to split up this duo because it's what do you do if you want to split up oh my goodness, I can't talk. Excuse me. If you want to split up the pairing, who do you trade? Do you trade Ben Simmons and keep Joel Embiid, knowing that Joel's injury history and how his lower body problems? He's 7 foot, so a lower leg injury is gonna affect him way more than it would affect a small guard. Do you want to take that chance, or do you want to trade Joel and keep Ben Simmons, even though Ben Simmons does not want to shoot the ball? Does not look like he's having fun out there, I guess. I don't know, maybe something mentally that's wrong with him. Not saying that he's I don't want to say that he's mentally challenged. I'm not talking. I'm talking maybe it's just you know what I mean. It's just maybe it's just not clicking up there that he's. I don't know. I'm just gonna take that back. You guys know what I mean. But it's just I don't know what it is with Ben Simmons. I don't know why he's not shooting. I really don't, because in the offseason, he was doing all these workouts, taking these step back jumpers, fade away threes, off the dribble threes, and now we're in the regular season. He's made 2, but he's only taken 5 shots, like outside the paint. And that's what differentiates him between Giannis, because Giannis, he's not afraid to pull. If you're going to give him some space, Giannis is going to take it. That's what Ben Simmons needs to do. If this team wants to succeed, that's what Ben Simmons needs to do. Make teams at least respect you out there. That's really it. That's really it. But let's just look at some other trades they could explore. Bogdan Bogdanovic from the Kings, that would be an amazing trade. I would definitely do that if I'm the Sixers, maybe for like Matisse Thybulle and probably a future first or something. I don't know, something like that. I definitely explore that option. Derrick Rose, I'd love to bring in if I was them. Davis Bertans, call them immediately and try to get him. A couple of names that I would look to add, but if I'm Elton Brand right now, what do I do? You know, and I think what I would do is I would keep the pairing of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and try to get rid of Tobias Harris and Al Horford. Get some assets, build up your depth, because these guys are still young, so they can turn into superstars. You know, I mean, maybe Joel is a superstar now. I don't think so with Ben Simmons, but you already got your 2 All-Stars. You should just surround them with great shooting. You know, if you can trade an Al Horford for a CJ McCollum, you do that. If you can trade a Tobias Harris to, I don't know what team, if the Wizards want him for like Davis Bertans and Ian Mahinmi to get, you do that. That's just things you do. You flip your young assets for veteran players. You can flip your Zaire Smith and a cap filler and a future first for Derrick Rose. You can flip Matisse Thybulle for Bogdan Bogdanovic. These are moves that you have to do, you know, and I think you should do, because, you know, and something with Philly fans with Matisse Thybulle is great, but he's limited on offense. And come on, bro, come on. If Bogdan is available, you go out there and you do that 10 times out of 10. I don't care. It does not. I don't. You just go do that. That'll be an amazing move for you. But yeah, that's what I think they should do. I think they should get rid of Al Horford and Tobias. Josh Richardson is mad. He can probably stay and play the 3 for you guys. And you go out there and you get some depth. You build around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and you give it. They just signed extensions. You give it at least to the end of their extensions, or like a year left. If it doesn't work out, then yes, maybe you look to split up the pair then. But right now, we need to add depth and shooting around those 2. Al Horford isn't it for them. Tobias, I don't really like. I think they should try to move on for him. But yeah, I think this team could be deadly with just Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, surrounded by a couple of playmakers off the bench, a couple of shooters, more defenders. That'd be great. That would be great. Yeah, I think that team would be deadly. Can you imagine like a starting lineup potentially of like Ben Simmons, CJ McCollum, Josh Richardson, Davis Bertans, and then Joel Embiid, and then off the bench you have like a Bogdan Bogdanovic, a Derrick Rose, and then you get a center, Joakim Noah, Ian Mahinmi or something, and then you get another. You can still keep Mike Scott, maybe he'll improve, and then some other veteran, James Ennis or something. That's a pretty good bench. You know, you have this, you have scoring, defense, all that. You'll be good. Your team will still be great, and you still have a lot of young guys. I think actually Bogdan is kind of old. I think he's like 27 or something like that. So he's obviously not young, but Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid are your 2 young guys. You still build around them for the future. But that's just my thoughts on the Philadelphia 76ers, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please like and sub and share with your friends. I'm getting a lot of good feedback on these type of, you know, just sit down and talk about a certain team video. So I think I'm just going to continue these. But I mean, yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy. And it's So Sports, and I'm out. Peace.